Away from that, some environmental community activists are against the divestment deal as currently being pursued by Shell PLC, a multinational oil company. Addressing journalists in Abuja, they said proceeding with the divestment deal without satisfying the interests of the Nigerian people will be met with nationwide protests. Correspondent Habib Alawal reports.
16 January, Shell PLC disclosed its consent to sell its Nigerian onshore oil and gas subsidiary to a consortium of local companies for up to $2.4 billion. Nigeria is Africa's biggest oil producer with an output of nearly 1 million barrels of crude oil per day. Some local activists have said that they regard Shell's onshore divestment plan as a bid to avoid taking responsibility for damage and pollution in Nigeria.
We notice that SPDC is diverting the onshore business and still holding the onshore business because we can monitor their activities and the level of contamination toward bringing them to answer. We frown at this law to avoid paying off for decades of pollutions and evading justice. We must stop this attempt to cause the laying off of workers. This will create unemployment and corresponding restiveness.
There are some communities in Niger Delta today that they don't have water to drink. They struggle just to get water to drink. There are some communities in the Niger Delta today that you go to. This is my skin as human being. If you look at their own skin and compare it with yours, it's a different skin entirely.
We are calling on the government to halt this transaction until all the germane issues ranging from environmental audit, decommissioning, remediation activities in those areas are concluded. And we are not joking about this matter.
Last year, a report by Nigeria's Bayelsa State Oil and Environmental Commission indicated that Shell and Eni must pay at least $12 billion for the cleanup of oil spills in Bayelsa State. According to Shell, Renaissance will be expected to take over responsibility for dealing with issues related to oil spill, theft and sabotage. The Niger Delta has faced decades of damage and spillage from Shell's oil operations. In 2005, especially, a major pipeline leak caused many damage to farmlands in that area. Habib Alawal, TVC News, Abuja.
For more on the divestment deal, the Executive Director of Policy Alert, Tija Bolton-Akpan, joins me on the news. Thanks for joining us. Well, at different times, Shell has been criticized over its contribution towards pollution and degradation of the environment. And some actually believe that this divestment is a way of evading paying compensation to Nigerian communities. Do you agree with them?
Yes, I actually do agree with those who think that Shell's divestment is a way of living behind its toxic legacies in the Niger Delta. Shell has operated for 60 plus years, heading to 100 years in this region. And what we have seen, apart from the profits they've made for themselves and the Nigerian state, which hasn't trickled down to the people, is actually a legacy of environmental pollution. You go, the seas are poisoned, fishes die every day, the lands are degraded, the communities, the air, the communities are in social strife and so on. And Shell has actually been fingered over the years in various reports, from Amnesty International to a lot of other organizations have actually fingered Shell as having a role not just in the social anomy in the Niger Delta, but also the deep environmental degradation of that region. And so for Shell to wake up one morning and decide to exit the Niger Delta is a huge act of insolence, not just on the Nigerian state, but also for the people of the Niger Delta, where they have been extracting fossil fuel resources for the past several decades. Right. So I agree with that assertion.
All right, but this call for the divestment agreement to be stalled, What message do you think it will pass to the international community who are interested in coming to Nigeria to do business?
Right. So international businesses who are interested in investing in Nigeria need to understand that business must be done responsibly. And to think of it, Shell is an international company, and they operate by the standards, the ESG standards that are globally accepted elsewhere in the world. But when they get to Nigeria, these standards are diluted. And it's unfortunate that the regulators who are expected to hold these corporate actors accountable actually find it more convenient to look the other way while this massive exploitation and the spoliation of our environment and our social fabric is happening. So we have something called the National Principles for Responsible Divestment, which civil society organizations came together at the behest of the SDN and adopted as a set of clear principles on how divestment should happen. So we're asking that the federal government should buy into this set of principles as a minimum desideratum for divestment to happen.
All right.
There are certain things that should not be negated. The first is that the communities are actually having their hair shaven in their absence. The conversation around divestment has not had the community people at the table. They are the people who suffer the impact of the toxic excrement that Shell is leaving behind. The companies who are inheriting this transaction now do not have the competence to carry on the decommissioning and abandonment liabilities that Shell is leaving behind. So this is the issue that needs to be taken on board, and a lot of these issues have actually been captured in these national principles for responsible divestment. So we're calling on the regulator, on the ministry. Unfortunately, we had the minister saying something like they were in a hurry, to sign off on this deal. It's rather unfortunate because there are conditions for ministerial assent to divestment. So the minister needs to follow certain procedures before he gives his consent for that. But for the minister to actually say that he's in a hurry to get this done shows that the Nigerian state is not holding itself to any set of principles before the divestment happens.
Executive Director,
really
I'm afraid that's the much we'll be able to take. Okay, Executive Director, Policy Alert, Tija Bolton-Akpan, thank you for talking to us on TVC News at 10.
Thank you very much.